Hello everyone, welcome back to Transitions to Parenting. I'm sure you've realized pretty quickly that I am not Brian and I'm not Sierra. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Dom. I'm one of the attachment counselors here at St. Mary's Home. Today's session is all about attachment. So I'm gonna tell you all about what attachment means, why it's important for yourself and your child, and how we can help you with attachment and your attachment relationship here at St. Mary's. Hopefully you find this video helpful. Feel free to pop in any extra questions that you might have in the comments once this video is done, or you can contact me directly. But I'm going to go through a lot about attachment today, so stay tuned and I hope you find this helpful. So the first thing that I'm going to talk to you guys about today is why it's so important to have an understanding of what attachment is and what it means for your child so early on. Transitions to Parenting really is the perfect program to really start building your understanding of attachment. And it's important to know about it early on for a couple reasons. One of the reasons is that, whether you've been coming here for a couple weeks, maybe you've been coming here for a couple years and you've taken every single one of our programs except attachment programs, or maybe you're brand new and you've just heard about us, chances are if you're in the building, you've probably heard the word attachment floating around to some degree or another. So the thing is, at St. Mary's Home, most of our programs and supports to some degree or another are actually attachment focused. The reason for that is because attachment is such a critical piece of your child's development that really can have long-lasting impacts throughout their lives. So St. Mary's also offer, you probably by now know that we offer a number of different programs, whether it's life skills, parenting support, play groups, you name it, we offer a lot. Some of the attachment specific programs that we offer, we do offer one-on-one attachment counseling. We also have a couple group format programs. One of them is Make the Connection. We run it in two different pieces. So one of them is for parents of babies newborn to 1 year. And then we also run it in another group for parents with children ages 1 to 2. That program's a little bit more of a play group style, but with lots of great discussion and lots of activities that are really meant to strengthen the attachment relationship. Another program that we have that supports attachment is called Circle of Security. That one is a parent-only group. It's a wonderful program. Your children will have to go to childcare for that program, but it's a wonderful program that really gets us thinking about attachment from a variety of different perspectives. Another reason it's so important to know about attachment early on is actually because your child's attachment relationship to you begins as early as when baby's still in your belly, which we're going to talk a little bit more about later on in this video. Even though baby's attachment starts developing that early, most of the support that we provide around attachment here at St. Mary's usually starts around the time that baby is 4 months and older. So I'm hoping the rest of this video answers some of your questions and gets you thinking with your attachment hats on. That's a little joke that's going to make sense to you if and when we ever get to work together. So I'm hoping that you find this video helpful. If I miss anything, please feel free to let me know in the comments once you've finished the video, or feel free to get in touch with me directly. But hopefully this video covers most of the basics for you. So before I dive right into attachment, I actually want to talk to you guys a little bit about bonding first. And I'm doing that because when I first meet with someone and I'm starting to talk to them about attachment, one of the most commonly asked questions that I get is, well, aren't attachment and bonding the same thing? While they can absolutely go hand in hand, they are quite different. So I just want to make sure that you guys understand the difference before I move on to attachment. So when we're talking about bonding can best be described as, the very specific feelings of love and care and concern that are unique to your relationship with your baby. Bonding is all about the caregiver and how the caregiver feels and connects to their baby, your child. So a mom might feel bonded to her baby while she's pregnant, as soon as she finds out that she's expecting. Sometimes people don't quite feel bonded to their baby until they're holding their baby for the first time. Maybe sometimes they don't really feel quite bonded or connected until a couple weeks later. The bonding process doesn't look the same for everyone, and there's a number of different factors that can contribute to that. Some of those factors can be mental health. Maybe mom's got some postpartum depression. Lots of different factors, or maybe there were some medical factors around having baby that maybe prevented getting that time in to bond. So I don't want anyone to worry. It can take some time to feel bonded to your baby, but ultimately the big difference between bonding and attachment is bonding is all about the caregiver's feelings of love towards their baby. And another way that I can kind of describe that feeling is, when you get that surge of love, like just those really great, overwhelming, beautiful feelings that you experience, again, at any time, right? Maybe you feel that surge of love and joy when you first find out that you're expecting. Maybe it comes when you've met your baby for the first time. It really is subjective, but that's the best way that I can describe it, is really just that surge of love that a mother has towards her baby. So that's the main. Okay, so now that I've talked to you a whole lot about bonding and what it means and why it's important and why knowing about attachment early on is so important, let's get to the point and actually talk about attachment. So let's just recap really quickly because this is important. Bonding is all about how the caregiver feels and connects to the baby. Attachment, on the other hand, is all about how your baby or child connects to you and feels about you. Let me make that make sense for you. So attachment is all about how a caregiver responds to their baby or child's emotional needs. So by noticing and responding consistently and sensitively, those are the two key pieces, to your baby or child's needs for affection, love, play, food, rest, you name it, whatever the need is. When you respond to those needs, you are helping your child build a secure early attachment to you. So to summarize, your child's attachment to you is developed in response to your responding to your child's needs. So a secure attachment is what a child needs to feel safe, loved, and understood, knowing that their parent is consistently there for them to keep them safe over time helps them learn what different emotions mean, how to manage those emotions, and who will keep them safe during those emotions and challenging times. So every time a caregiver responds to their child's needs for comfort or confidence, they're building a foundation of trust and security for your child. Since infants and children can't soothe themselves on their own, I don't know anyone that's had a baby that came out being like, oh, I'm hungry, can just go ahead and feed myself. I don't know anyone that's happened to. So since they can't soothe themselves on their own, they rely strictly on their parents or caregivers to help them through their feelings and meet their needs. So ultimately, your child develops a secure attachment to you as a direct result of you responding consistently and sensitively to their needs. Make sense? So, in talking about attachment, I talked an awful lot about parents responding to their children's needs in order to help their child build a secure attachment to them as a result of the parent's responsiveness. I want to kind of wrap that up a little bit and make it crystal clear by maybe providing a couple examples of how the attachment relationship is developed as a result of parental responding. So I'm going to use the example of falling off a bike and give a couple different outcomes, but I want to be really clear that the bike is symbolic of any need that your child might have, whether it's for some sleep or affection or food or a bath. Doesn't matter. The bike is representative of any single need that a baby or child might have. So let's say, for example, you're about 4 years old, you're riding your bike and you fell off your bike. You've got a scraped knee, maybe you've got some scuffs on your brand new shoes. You've fallen down, you're hurt. You're hurt, you're a little bit embarrassed, and you look around and you're looking for your parent. And and your parent comes running over, and they comfort you. Maybe they put you on your knee or on their knee, they clean you up, they sit with you, they calm you down, and then when you're ready to go back out and play on your bike, get back out there, they stand back a little bit, and or they stand by a little bit, and they just make sure that you're comfortable enough to go out and play safely before they go back to whatever it is they're doing. How might something like that feel for you as a child? Let's talk about it. So your parent recognized that you had a need, you were hurt, you were upset, you were a little bit embarrassed. They acknowledged that, that you were hurt and that you needed them. You needed some connection. You needed a little bit of taking care of for your scraped knee. And you needed them to be there for a couple minutes to feel safe. When you went back on your bike, you needed them to just kind of hang tight for a couple minutes and make sure that, the bike was safe to ride again, and that nothing scary was going to happen again. A parental response like that, probably one of the most supportive responses, and the more consistently you get that kind of careful and thoughtful response from your caregivers, over time, your child is going to learn that, my parents, they have my back, they're here to keep me safe, they're going to take care of my emotional needs and my physical needs, right? Because, again, going back, when you fell off the bike, you were a little embarrassed. Maybe your friends saw, there were people watching, and you were hurt. So you needed some physical care to bandage up your scraped knee. So over time, with supportive examples of that, your child is going to learn that, your feelings are accepted, your feelings are safe, and you are safe with your parent. More experiences like that, the more a strong, secure attachment the child is going to develop towards you, and trust that you are there to keep them safe, whatever their needs are. Let's look at the bike example again. You fell, you scraped your knee, you're a little bit embarrassed. You look around, you're looking for your parent, and maybe your parent says, you're fine, dust yourself off, go back and play. And no one really comforts you. No one acknowledges that you're hurt. No one acknowledges that you're embarrassed, and you're kind of left sitting there with a scraped knee, and no one's really acknowledged that might have hurt you, and no one's comforted you, right? So how might something like that feel to a child? That can, with experiences like that or responses like that, the child may not think that it's okay to be embarrassed or to have some of those more challenging emotions, and might not necessarily know how to properly manage them over time, might not know that they can go to someone if they need some emotional or physical support, right? So difference in responding, and it leaves the child maybe feeling like they don't know how to manage. Imagine that, right? So let's look at the same bike accident. Maybe last week you fell off your bike, your parent was super supportive, really attentive, took the time with you like in our first example, and then this week you fell off your bike again, not having a great week, and this time your parent was not supportive, kind of like the second example. So you've got that inconsistent responding, because again, the key piece is consistency. So you didn't really get the most consistent response. So that's a little bit confusing if those inconsistent responses are happening across the board with different needs and different feelings. Maybe as the child gets older, they're not really sure who they can approach to have their different needs met, whether they're physical or emotional or whatever. Maybe some days the parent is really supportive and other days they're really dismissive. That can be really confusing and leave a child not really knowing who they can turn to and when, which really doesn't help them organize their feelings and learn how to manage them appropriately. So those are just a couple different examples of different types of responses and why they're important. Let's connect this to maybe down the road, when your child is a teenager. If let's say let's say there's maybe a dangerous or new situation that your 13-year-old is unsure of. He's hanging out with some friends, and some things are starting to happen that maybe he's not the most comfortable with. If this child has seen a lot of really supportive responses from their parent or a caregiver when they've had to go to them for different needs, again, whether they're physical or emotional, they've learned that they can trust that caregiver with their feelings and that they will help keep them safe. So in this dangerous situation, a child who's been met with more supportive responses is more likely to go to their caregiver to help them out with managing whatever situation that they're not comfortable with. On the other hand, same uncomfortable situation, if the child has consistently gotten not supportive responses or a mixed bag of responses where maybe some are supportive and others aren't, that child is more likely to hesitate to seek out help because maybe they feel like they're not going to get the help or they're going to get in trouble for something that's going on around them. So those are just a couple different examples of the importance of the consistency and sensitivity pieces when talking about responding to your child's needs. So I hope that kind of cleared it up for you. I talked quite a bit there, but I'm hoping that clears it up a little bit for you about the importance of responding and some of the long-term impacts that it can have on your child's emotional development and ultimately their relationship to you, the parent. Now for my favorite part, we're going to do a little bit of Q&A. I've gathered some of my most frequently asked questions that I get in the work that I do. Hopefully, if you've had these questions, these answers are helpful to you. So the first question is, can the bond that I have to my baby or child impact the development of their attachment to me? Short answer, yes. When we talked about bonding, we talked about how it doesn't necessarily look the same for everyone. So depending on how you bond to your baby, and frankly, some parents don't, unfortunately. And that can happen for a number of reasons that we talked about we talked about in depth back in the bonding portion of the video. But yes, absolutely it can impact, because how you feel about your baby or child can of course impact the way that you respond to your child in a number of ways. We talked an awful lot about responding. So yeah, absolutely. The way that you feel about your child can certainly impact the way that you respond to your child. And, if those responses are inconsistent or not always as warm and sensitive as you would like them to be, then absolutely that can impact how your child sees you as a safe figure for them. This is one of my favorite questions. I don't know why. Maybe I'm just a little bit of like an attachment nerd. But one of the questions that I get a whole lot is, can my child be attached to more than one person? The answer is yes. While babies and children generally have one primary attachment figure. A lot of the times it's mom, but it really is, that primary attachment figure is usually the person who is most consistently and warmly meeting their needs. If you're a two-parent household and both parents are, amazingly warmly meeting the child's needs and comforting them when needed, then absolutely, that child is going to have two phenomenal attachment figures. But also important to note, let's say, for example, your child is a little bit older and entering into childcare. Of course, if the childcare provider is doing that great job of being supportive and interested in the child and takes great care of them, the child can absolutely develop an attachment relationship to the child care provider as well. If there's a family member that your child sees and spends an awful lot of time with who also takes really good care, absolutely, a child can have multiple attachment relationships, but usually has one primary attachment figure. The third question that I get quite a bit is, can how I was raised impact how my child attaches to me? Absolutely, yeah, it really can. And the reason for that is everybody's raised differently, and oftentimes we tend to parent, not always, I want to be very clear about that, not always, but we tend to pick up parenting habits based on how we were parented. So again, kind of talking about consistent and inconsistent responses. If you're coming from a very supportive household, your needs were met, whether they're emotional or physical, and they were consistently met with warmth and love, the more likely you are to respond to your child that way. But looking at the other side of the spectrum, if you weren't necessarily met with that consistency, that care, support, in addition to a number of other factors. Life happens. Again, we've talked about mental health, physical health, there's factors such as substance use, a whole bunch of different reasons, including how we were parented, can also impact how we respond to our children. So yes, absolutely, how you were raised can have an impact on how your child develops an attachment to you. But again, to be clear, that cycle can totally be broken if that's not necessarily the news you were hoping for. Again, the key pieces are consistently and warmly and supportively responding to your child's needs, and the more that you do that, the more securely that child is going to attach to you. So this is a big question, and we do address it a little bit more in our attachment programs. I'm not going to dig too deep into it here, but the big question, we talked a lot about secure attachment and a child developing a secure attachment. Is there such a thing as an insecure attachment, and how does it happen? And the answer is yes, there is such a thing as insecure attachment. It can look different. It can look very different in every child, and there's different things that we can look for and see to kind of identify if maybe there's an insecure attachment happening. But again, an insecure attachment kind of comes down to all the other pieces that we've talked about in great length, usually as a result of inconsistent or not the most sensitive responding from the parent or caregiver. Which can sometimes be confusing, and again, leave it so that your child doesn't necessarily know who they can trust, or they can't always trust that their caregiver or parent is going to be there to keep them safe and meet their needs. So short answer, yes, there is such thing as an insecure attachment, and there's lots of different factors that contribute to how it happens. That is why we do the attachment work that we do. We always want to see your little ones developing a secure attachment to you or other people who are taking care of them. So that's why we do the work that we do. So if you have any concerns that maybe you would like to address, absolutely give us a call, give me a call. You can reach out, and we're happy to help out with that attachment relationship however we can. So one final thing that I wanted to touch on, it's not necessarily something that I get asked a lot, but it is something that I find people are kind of surprised by, even after I've gone through all of the information that I've just given you guys. Regardless of if it's a secure or insecure attachment, your child is going to have an attachment relationship to someone, whether it's you, whether it's someone else that's caring for them. So it really is the responsibility of the caregiver to make sure that they are responding in a way that is going to support a secure and healthy attachment relationship for the child. Every single time that your child lets you know, whether it's a cry or a reach, or if your child is old enough to talk, outright asks or tries to communicate with you, every single time that they're trying to communicate a need with you is an invitation to the attachment relationship, and how you respond is what develops the type of attachment relationship that your child is going to have to you. So yes, absolutely, your child is going to have an attachment relationship no matter what, but it's up to you to decide what kind of attachment relationship you want your child to have to you. Okay, so I just talked at you guys an awful lot about attachment. I answered a lot of questions, gave a lot of examples, none of which you asked for, but all of which were necessary. So I'm hoping that you found this video on attachment helpful. It really is just attachment basics, just to give you guys an understanding of why it's so important to know about early on. Again, your baby's attachment to you starts as early as when they are in your belly. So if there were any questions or anything like that that I didn't answer in this video that you'd like more information on, feel free to pop them in the comments underneath this video. Because it is a public platform, if you are not comfortable popping it in the comments, absolutely give me a call at the center. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. And hopefully on the other side of this and we reopen, hopefully I can start some work with you guys when your baby is old enough. So take good care, stay safe, and I hope this video was helpful. Bye-bye guys, take care.